So, focusing on The Acolyte here, one of the most failed Star Wars TV shows even before its debut/release on June 4th, by the way, next month is going to be a very big month for Leslye Headland, for Lucasfilm, and not in a good way, because it's only going to spell doom for the future of the Star Wars brand and what it means for the Walt Disney Company. Now, we already know that the second trailer was yet another example of a trailer getting ratioed across all forms of social media connected to Star Wars, something that we have not seen connected to any other Star Wars show or movie prior to the marketing campaign for The Acolyte. This is IGER. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at IGER1. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So one thing about The Acolyte is that we know that those like Kathleen Kennedy, Leslye Headland, and among others have been heavily defending all the agendas attached to this show, all of the insertion of DEI into many different elements and aspects of The Acolyte that is diminishing George Lucas's philosophy and his overall outlook on Star Wars, and it only continues to worsen as we have, of course, the cast, and of course, even the creators backing everything up, defending everything related to The Acolyte. Now, one of the stars of this show, Amandla Stenberg, alright, portrays one of the main characters in this series, has a lot going on right now by defending this series and really going against the true Star Wars fans that really support George Lucas's Star Wars. Let's get into it now. One thing about all of this is that we know that The Acolyte is going to be just as bad as The Last Jedi, if not worse. However, with both Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm now considered the two most damaged divisions at the Walt Disney Company, one major development now has much to do with the marketing campaign for The Acolyte for Star Wars. Now, recently actress Amandla Stenberg heavily criticized the current Acolyte backlash and the criticism with Leslye Headland by delivering the following. As someone who represents the LGBTQ community and who proudly identifies as non-binary, I find it very repulsive to see the type of fan response that Leslye was getting with this series just for the simple fact of supporting and including our community into the storyline. I'm eternally blessed to be a part of Star Wars, but what should not be tolerated are critics who obviously are afraid of powerful women, both for the story and for the creators that shape the show. I think it's an ongoing problem that we have been dealing with in this industry, and as one who is part of the LGBTQ community, I instantly connected with Leslye on the set and how we wanted to incorporate elements of that into the show as our #1 priority. You are going to see lots of new exciting source material releasing for this show that will expand the depths of these characters' backgrounds and beliefs and even their relationships. Going into this, we knew that we would be dealing with a toxic side of the fandom that remains opposed to actually representing all these communities in a show as big as Star Wars. This is something that both I and Leslye agreed on, that you can't give any of these loud, entitled fans any attention because now the new normal is celebrating projects that feature strong, powerful women failing, and it's just disgusting behavior as far as I'm concerned. Now, this show is a very special installment from Lucasfilm in a way that it really represents my community and many other actresses that consider themselves non-binary and among others. Fans need to accept that this is going to be a brand new take on Star Wars, and if they don't like the fact that it represents our community and many others, then that's a you problem that needs to be sorted out. I may not know all that much about Star Wars like Leslye does, but I know enough that we are changing with this story and how it's only going to evolve this franchise well above what Lucas created 40 plus years ago. We are going to deliver powerful twists and turns that I think will, in the end, upset some fans, but they will learn to accept the rules in this franchise that will be broken to create a new future for the High Republic era. The toxic male demographic is a very real thing that needs to be addressed, and both Leslye and Kathy are fully aware about the ongoing problem that Lucasfilm thankfully is going to ignore with their many upcoming projects that proudly supports women. Now guys, let me just stop here for one moment before I move on. Now, the problem about those like Leslye Headland, Kathleen Kennedy, and in this scenario, Amandla Stenberg, is that they are so wrapped up in their own mind to the point where they're not even in touch with reality. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what really matters in a Star Wars storyline or what Star Wars should really be all about. This is all about ideology over art. That's really what it all dwindles down to. That's what they're 110% focusing on at this point, is that they are really focusing on the agenda, the message, whatever have you, above character development, above the plot, above anything related to what should be done in Star Wars. This is nothing more than basically a way to shoehorn, you know, their overall message to the general public, and it's a vessel for themselves to kind of get things out there. Now look, you got people like Amandla Stenberg, who has endlessly identified as non-binary, and how she keeps going on about how this is going to be inserted into the Acolyte and the characters' backgrounds, whether it's in the actual show, or through books, or through novels, or visual dictionaries, etc., that adapt the story. It's all going to be embedded within the Acolyte brand, or the sub-brand of Star Wars, whatever have you, right? So, moving onwards, she goes on to conclude, I can't really say much about this story yet, but what's very powerful and special about it is that it celebrates women, and especially women coming from different backgrounds and relationships. I can only hope that this will make others that fall into my community to feel more accepted in this industry that's been divided for all too long. That's Leslie's mission with the Acolyte, to bring us together and to shift away from what Lucas had created so long ago that will evolve this franchise. So here's the more embarrassing side of what's going on here, is that there are a lot of those that, you know, are in touch with the LGBTQ community that follow us here, that have openly stated that they are against what Kathleen, Leslye, Amandla Stenberg are all supporting with the Acolyte and pushing for that story. You have members of that community that are against DEI, that are against the Disney agenda and everything going on over at Lucasfilm. And that's very revealing. That just goes to show you that they are not only pushing away one side of the fandom, but most certainly another side of the fandom that does not want to actually see the DEI nonsense getting spilled into a show like this that so happened to be a part of the LGBTQ community, which I think is just absolutely embarrassing for Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy all around. Now again, the Acolyte is dropping on June 4th. That is the official release date, and so far the marketing campaign has been atrocious. We have had 2 trailers that have gotten ratioed across the board on social media, all forms of social media, by the way, no matter where you go. It is heavily disliked, and it is not just catered to one social media platform. And that, I think, really just goes to show you the current status of Star Wars and where it's heading for 2025. So overall, I would love to hear what you all have to say about the Acolyte below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.